Welcome to the future. 20 years into your own future is who I ultimately am. I have lived 20 years longer than you. I've got a lot more life experience and maturity in my brain just by default because I'm still alive at age 39. And now I'm going to help you get a brain transplant to think the way you need to as you are entering college. And this is a new series that I'm experimenting with, if the free market shall allow it, deciding that this is worth my time to shoot these videos based on the number of views. And yes, I am thinking like a businessman here. And it's funny when I get comments, not on this series, but on other videos that I make, where people say, you admitted you make money from these videos? I can't trust a word you say, because now I know that you're making money. Imagine saying that to a doctor. I can't trust a word. You're saying that I have cancer? I can't trust you because you're just doing this for the money. But see, that's juvenile boyish thinking, and that's why you're watching this video, because you do not want to think that way. You want to think like a man, because how you think defines you, not what you look like. So let's go ahead and get to work. I made a video called Advice to Guys Going to College, What to Focus on to be a Man. And so that was the first video of the series. So here's one of those follow-ups here. And we're still experimenting. Will the free market support this? Will enough people watch the videos for it to be worth my time? I'm asking. I hope so, because I would much rather make these videos than those other stupid videos that I make that take up most of my videos on this channel. So here we go. Jesse Piazza, Italian, the double Z. And double Z is TZ, like mozzarella. See, I know that. Jesse Piazza, because a quarter of my heritage goes back to Italy. Great-grandfather got off the boat 100 years ago, exactly, in 1920. What do you do for a living, champ? Well, Jesse, I appreciate that. That's an intelligent question. I love wise, intelligent questions. And this is important because I know that when you are entering college, man, it can be confusing to think, what am I supposed to do for a living? I don't know. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be an engineer. I'm not smart enough for that. What am I supposed to do? I'm just an average guy, which is exactly what I was. I do not have a high IQ. I never did well in those standardized tests. Granted, I graduated college on the dean's list, but by that point, my senior year, I was only doing the high-level classes based on the thing that I was best at. And that's part of college. You have to sort of trial and error, figure out really what your focus is. So I have explained before, horrible at math, horrible at science, horrible at engineering, building things, fixing things. My brain does not work that way. I'm horrible at that. And that's a lot about gaining the identity of a man. You don't focus things on your physical appearance, you base it on your skill set. And sometimes the only way to really know what you're good at is to know what you're bad at. So I knew I was bad at math, science, etc. But I always enjoyed writing stories, creative writing, spelling tests. I never had to study. I'd always get 100. So by the time I got to college, it took me a year or two, but I finally figured out, okay, I'll just, I guess, major in English. And I'll tell you, that definitely has been a great payoff for me. And granted, yes, I'm filming this during COVID-19. I'm on furlough. Outside of COVID, what I do for a living is a great career. There are all kinds of people who have great careers that they're on hold right now because of COVID. So let's excuse that from this whole conversation and pretend that's not going on right now. Otherwise, normally, the job I do is I am a recruiter, which that's a profession, yes, and it's a very good one, a well-paying profession actually. So a recruiter is basically if you had a hybrid between a salesperson and a person in HR. It's a sales division of HR. We're like, wait, that doesn't seem like that goes hand in hand at all. But imagine this. There's a lot of money to be made in having a person who can help you hire people, which is exactly what I do. I help a Fortune 500 company hire people. So I have, at any given time, 20, 25 different jobs across the United States. And I match them up with people who have the correct skill sets and live in the right location, etc. And then I talk to them, I make sure they're qualified, I set them up for interviews, I help them with basic HR forms and that sort of thing, and get all that going, and I get them hired. By hiring a person, I make my company money. So I'm constantly hiring people. But in order to do that, it's a matter of communication. So ultimately, yes, I have a quota, just like a salesman would. Like if I was selling whatever I was selling, I'm basically Instead of selling something, I'm ultimately filling job positions, which is the same concept as a salesman. So you can look at me as ultimately a salesman, but yes, I'm a recruiter. And the way I do that is I simply think people are motivated differently. It is juvenile, it is immature to assume that all people are motivated by the same things. Certain people are motivated by money, more so than anything. When I'm setting up jobs, trying to fill jobs, I've got a guy over here who wants to make as much money as he can, and I have a job over here that will pay him that. Granted, he won't be home every night. He's going to be on the road a little bit, but he's going to make a lot of money. So that could be a good fit. Over here, I've got a guy who cares less about money. He's nearly retired, but he just wants something to kind of make a little bit more income before he retires. And so he finds this job over here. It doesn't pay that much, but he's happy with that job. So I'm constantly connecting those. But it's a matter of me presenting that information. So what I do as a salesman, as a recruiter, I simply explain, here's the facts, here's the job, so I understand these are your skill sets. So you do meet the skill set. We can go ahead and have you come in for an interview. How about tomorrow at 10? And so ultimately what I'm doing is I'm telling them the next step. I'm not asking them, are you interested? I'm telling them the facts and leaving it up to them, assuming that they're going to make the decision. They show up to the interview. If they interview well, which a lot of times they do just because they have the skill set and they actually show up for the interview, bam, that loose end is now tied up, and that's a sale for me or ultimately a recruit for me. So for me, largely, it comes down to communicating with people. And it's funny because a lot of times people will tell me afterwards, like, wow, you really know what you're doing. You seem really confident in what you're doing and experienced in what you do. And I'll say, well, honestly, I was just reading the details off of a Word document. But you had the skill set for it. So some of these words I didn't even know. I didn't even know what we were talking about. But you did, and I knew that you would because you had the skill set for it. But as long as I made that match, that's all that matters. And it's funny because one of my sayings on my channels is no one can tell the difference between real confidence and fake confidence. People cannot tell the difference. So as long as you act confident, and when I say act confident, I don't mean act full of yourself. Just acting like you believe in yourself independently. How I feel about myself is not based on what other people think about me, what other people say about me, or how I perceive that they think about me. It's based on, you know what? Here are my weaknesses. Here are my strengths. And somewhere in between is going to be real life. And I'm just going to move forward. I'm going to be decisive. I'm going to do this thing. And ultimately, I'm going to hope that it all works out. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And life is about taking risks. The more risks you take, the more you fail. The more risks you take, the more you succeed. And the more failures and the more success you have, the more confident you become. Which is why largely my audience on my videos are for teenagers or guys in their 20s who haven't figured that out yet. And believe me, do you think I've always been this sure of myself or had this much life experience? Of course not. I would be the 19-year-old watching this video and not sure of myself and not really that sure of how to talk to girls, which is another entry in the series. I became this way over time because I ultimately figured out what I was bad at, figured out what I was good at, and now I make a career off of it. So for me, it's a great career. I really enjoy the challenge of being a recruiter and a salesman, but ultimately I work for a trucking company. So all across the United States, freight is needing to move when there's not, a COVID lockdown. And so it's up to me to fill those openings because without a qualified driver for that position, the freight cannot move across country. So it's a very important job. But however, with COVID-19 right now, so much is shut down, there's less freight that can be moving right now. So hopefully I'll be back on furlough until July 1st. But that's not any indication that it's not otherwise a completely dependable job. We're just living in a crazy time, for all this COVID stuff. But yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm a recruiter, which ultimately is a salesman in the division of HR. And it really comes down to someone who is good at communicating and figuring out how people think, what motivates a person. It's just like on the dating video that I made for this entry. If you're a straight man trying to attract a straight woman, you do not think like the wrong kind of person. What you should think is, how is she attracted to men? not, well, I'm a man, so I'm going to think I'm attracted to female based on their looks. You can't assume that females are basing their attractiveness on your looks. They're judging you in 1,000 different ways, but it's really barely about your looks whatsoever. And if it is, it's more about what you're wearing, that you're well presented, and that you're smiling, and that's about the extent of it. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out. But anyway, there you go. That's what I do for a living. I'm happy to keep doing these videos. If there's comments coming in warranting more of these, I care about this stuff. I'm happy to talk about giving advice to guys going to college. I hate talking about the other thing that I have to talk about to grow this channel subscribership. But I actually care about you if you're watching this video. Your comments go right here.